Hello, and today's going to be really exciting as we are going to be giving an opportunity here for a few of the Buffalo Bills to finally reach their heyday from the 90s, to finally reach the glory that they've been seeking and making it on to the Lunch Room Syndicate all-time Buffalo Bills team.
That's right, we're doing the Buffalo Bills all-time football team. My favorite team prior to the Jacksonville Jaguars coming into the league.
I'm going to throw out a number here. Players that played for any of those four Super Bowl teams, and over-under of 9 of those players making this all-time team.
Be a lot of guys. As a matter of fact, one of them's coming up in our first position, the quarterback position.
Who is Jim Kelly, who, spoiler alert, he's our guy.
Yeah.
It's Jim Kelly by a few miles. And off the running back, we are going to be talking about Fred Jackson, Marshawn Lynch, LaShawn McCoy, OJ, White Bronco, Simpson, and Thurman Thomas.
One of my favorite players growing up. I absolutely love Thurman Thomas. I can't blame it. Thurman Thomas, Hall of Famer as well. He was just an absolute beast out of the backfield, could catch the ball. Hell, I didn't realize how many receptions he had. He had over a 450 in an era where running backs didn't catch as much. Fred Jackson in the mid-2000s was a very underrated running back. Somebody that kind of got overlooked at times, even by the Buffalo Bills. But when he was out in the field, he produced.
For just a change of pace here, my favorite position to talk about on a team will not be the defensive backs. It's going to be this wide receiver core. We have Don Beebe, Jerry Butler, Bob Chandler, Stephon Diggs, Albert W., Lee Evans, Steve Johnson, James Lofton, Eric Moulds, and Andre Reed. To me, there's an obvious number one, even though I'm going to try to argue other names foolishly because he wasn't my favorite one to watch.
Andre Reed, it took way too damn long to put him in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, we were talking about that. It just happened recently. It's like
2014, 15. Like, what? How did it take 8-9 years to get him in the Hall of Fame?
I don't know. That was weird for me when we were talking about that. But Andre Reed is the clear number one on here. Now go through. Tell me why Eric Moulds wouldn't be blue tier, because you just shit on James Lofton.
No, he's blue tier. He's the second greatest receiver in Buffalo history. The man who took over the mantle for number one receiver after Andre Reed and did a damn fine job of it. Played after the Jim Kelly era, so he played more under the Doug Flutie era of the Buffalo Bills. That was a fun one. Eric Mosel was one of the best receivers in Buffalo history.
My favorite one to watch on that team is the first guy on the list here, Don Beebe. The slot receiver over for him, but he was their go-to guy. You needed some yards, you needed a first down, you go to Don Beebe. I liked Don Beebe.
Next up, though, one of the weakest positions, probably the weakest position for the Buffalo Bills. It might be one of the weakest tight end positions we're going to have.
I think there's a single guy here worth talking about. So I think we just need to come through here and say Pete had the games played.
But let's move over to our alternate offense.
It is 4 players from any offensive position. So who are we going to be debating upon?
All right, we have several names to choose from here. Let me name them first. Stu Barber, Reuben Brown, Steve Christie. I think we've seen this name before. Joe DeLemiello. Joe D. We've seen him with the Cleveland Browns. Joe Delvin, John Fina, Kent Hall, Ken Jones, Jim Richter, Billy Shaw, Will Wolford, Josh Allen, LaShawn McCoy, Stephon Diggs, and James Lofton.
But Billy Shaw, 8 Pro Bowls, 5 first team.
I mean, he has to be blue, right?
He's got to be. Yeah.
The only Hall of Famer, one of 2 only Hall of Famers here in this list.
Yeah. Jody 1.
Blue. he was more known for his time in Buffalo. He should be a high consideration.
Kent Hall?
Another guy I think should be in the Hall of Fame. I'm gonna put him at.
I'm hovering over a color.
I feel like he should be blue.
Okay.
I would probably eliminate James Lofton personally. I think it's between Ruben Brown and Josh Allen.
Okay, that's how I was leaning. And I'm looking at our people who we already have up there. And we got some big boys up there already.
We do.
I don't know if we need a Ruben Brown up there.
That's where I'm at too. And I love Ruben Brown. I remember him so well in the late 90s, early 2000s. But unfortunately, Josh Allen, what he means to the Buffalo Bills today, absolutely should be on that list.
I am excited to have him on this list. I am not a Buffalo Bills fan, but I know what he means to the Buffalo Bills currently. And hell, we did already steal his drawing, his potato buffalo over here as the logo. Let's go ahead. Let's give people the D.
Let's give people the D. The defensive lineman. We have on defensive linemen Marcel Darius, Jim Dunaway, Phil Hansen, Jerry Hughes, Chris Kelsey, Ron McDowell, Aaron Schobel, Fred Smarlass, or Smearass, Bruce Smith, Ted Washington, big old Ted Washington. That motherfucker was huge. And the Williams Four, Ben Williams, Kyle Williams, Mario Williams, and Pat Williams.
He's white. He's a white dude. Move on from him. We don't need to talk about him. The first one, I'm just going to go ahead and get that out of the way here. Bruce Smith is hands down the number one guy without debate. You know who's not a white tier? Aaron Schobel. God damn.
Fucking Schobel. Why does Buffalo have great defensive linemen?
I don't know. Convince me that that's not a blue.
I can't. No, I'm not going to.
No, you can't. So we're at Aaron Schobel, Marcel Darius.
Oh, man. I love both these two. I'm leaning towards Aaron Schobel personally.
Yeah?
It's tough because, yes, Marcel Darius didn't have the sacks, but he was a defensive tackle, but he also was a game wrecker. Aaron Schobel was also a very game wrecker on the defensive end side.
You said Darius has the sacks? Who has the sacks?
Aaron Schobel has the sacks. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Who has more tackles?
Aaron Schobel.
Okay. How about the forced fumbles?
Aaron Schobel.
Aaron Schobel it is. I mean, I like Marcel Darius, but I mean, I tried to make that a bigger argument than what it really was. Like, this is a lackluster linebacker core here. This is almost tight end worthy for me.
Wow.
There's the difference is there's a couple names that are like, oh yeah, definitely.
There's two should be Hall of Famers in this group. Well, let's talk about our players first. Let's talk about who we are selecting. We are
Cornholio Bennett.
What'd you call him?
Cornholio Bennett.
Cornholio Bennett.
I'm Cornholio.
You know that's going in the YouTube video. Anyway, you want to name the rest of them off?
Ooh, yeah, we got some Shane motherfucker, London Fletcher, Harry Knobs, Harry Jacobs, Matt Milano, Sam Rogers, Lucius Sanford, Takeo Spikes, Mike Stratton, Daryl Talley, John Tracy. Mike Stratton.
He needs to be a blue tier just with some of those stats you see there. 3 times.
Yeah, I know. He's not a guy that I know, but you can't argue with facts there in front of you.
No, just absolute stud from back in the day.
All right. So now we have 3 spots. We have 4 names. And let's just go over real briefly here. I was at London Fletcher, should be a Hall of Famer. You're going to be between Cornelius Bennett and Daryl Talley.
We get 3 spots.
I know, but you were at Cornelius Bennett, Hall of Famer, Darryl Talley, Hall of Famer, and Iffy on London Fletcher. So it's got to be those three. What the fuck? How are we leaving off Stratton?
I know it's it's tough to leave him off with those stats because he clearly was one of the all-time greats in Buffalo. We just don't know anything about him.
He's got to be number one, though. We don't know a damn thing about him. He's got to be number one.
He's got to be number one.
Okay. London Fletcher is hands down a blue tier for me.
He's in the blue tier for me as well. I mentioned
this is the linebacker in Buffalo for me. Like when you say who's linebacker for the Bills, it's London Fletcher.
But we'll get to the other one in a minute. But London Fletcher, I gave you the stat the other day about him. Didn't miss a single game in his entire 17-year NFL career.
And then who was the other Hall of Fame worthy linebacker you were talking about?
But this was outside of Bruce Smith, my second favorite defensive player in the 90s Buffalo team, Darryl Talley. He was that middle linebacker, that brute force guy. Doesn't get a lot of love.
You're now off to defensive backs.
Yeah. Your favorite position, although you said earlier that was not your favorite position to talk about with the Buffalo Bills.
No, like this seems like homework. Picking here seems like home in the worst possible way. Okay, who are we considering here?
Butch Bird, Jarius Bird, Mario Clark, Nate Clements, Booker Ederson, Stephon Gilmore, Tony Green, Micah Hyde, Henry Jones, Mark Kelso, and that wicked helmet, Terrence McGee, Leotis McKelvin, Nate Odomes, Jordan Poyer, Charles Romes, and Kurt Schultz.
Okay, so let's get this out of the way. You said there was one name on here where you're like, no, this is a good name. I had one name on here where I'm like, it was almost. Who was your guy?
Henry Jones.
Jones was your guy.
Henry Jones was a player I remember very vividly in the 90s. Big safety, hard hitter, brutal motherfucker. Not the best cover guy, admittedly, although he had 18 interceptions. Made the first team All-Pro.
Okay, not the name that I had in mind. The closest one to a standout name for me, Nate Clements.
Nate Clements, former Ohio State Buckeye, very good defensive back. He should be a blue tier.
We have two birds.
Butch Bird is probably a Mike Stratton situation again. Again, you look at his stats, 40 interceptions in 98 games, which is absolutely incredible. 5-time Pro Bowler, 3-time first team All-Pro. Probably has to be a blue.
Jarius here, where, a bird in the hand is worth 2 on the Bills.
Jarius Bird was an absolute ball hawk. Didn't play a lot, had some injury issues towards the middle and the tail end of his Buffalo career, but absolute ball hawk in Buffalo.
If we go over to our Alt-D, we have Hanson, we have Kyle Williams, we have Darius, we have Bennett, we have Tony Green. Marcel Darius is the first pick on here for me.
My first thought was Cornelius Bennett.
Cornholio Bennett it is. Completely agree.
Jay?
So then our offensive lineup here, all time, Buffalo Bills. We have Andre Reed, some Pete guy that made it by default, Eric Moulds, and Don Beebe. Tossing him the ball, Jim Kelly, and in the backfield, Thurman Thomas and Fred Jackson. We also have Billy Shaw, Jody, Kent Hall, and Josh Allen.
And on our defensive side of the ball here, we have in the defensive backfield, Henry Jones, Nate Clements, Jarius Bird, Dutch Bird. At linebacker, we got Mike Stratton, London Fletcher, and Darryl Talley. On the first two defensive lines, we got Bruce Smith, no shit, Aaron Schobel, and our two alternate spots, we have Marcel Darius and Cornelius Bennett. Thank you again for joining us for another edition of the NFL All-Time Team here at the Lunch Room Syndicate. Want to see these live? Join us Wednesday at midnight and Friday at midnight at www.twitch.tv/ZunkerLRS.
Zunker, you ready?
What you call me?
Christopher, are you ready?